Okay, everybody, my name is Lowell, and welcome to the channel. So we have a reaction video. This is going to be moving to Australia made me question everything. So let's jump in and let's have a look at this one.
I moved to Australia for 6 months and it totally changed the way I view everything. I had to question what I believed before. But first, this is Tiffany Travels. I help women and families travel, build wealth, and live richer. So on my channel, you'll find travel vlogs from around the world, as well as interviews with women and families who have moved abroad. If that sounds interesting to you, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So I did a study abroad in Australia, and I went to New Zealand and Fiji while I was there. This is during a time of my life where my father was very ill. And I was just in a YOLO phase. I was just in this phase where I'm going to do everything that I want to do before something happens to me, before I die. So I was in like a YOLO phase. So I was doing bungee jumping, I was doing whitewater rafting, I was doing canoeing, I was doing all of these excursions all over Australia. And I went from Sydney up to Cairns to New Zealand. I was doing all these things. While I was there doing the excursions, I met other travelers. So even though I was living there at the time, I was meeting travelers because I was doing excursions, like whale watching. I was doing stuff like that in Australia, or going to the Great Barrier Reef and going snorkeling there. So I met people, and the people there were from Europe, or they were mostly from Europe. Every now and again, I'd meet other Americans, but for the most part, they were from Europe. And they would be in Australia for 4 to 6 weeks. And I kept meeting people who were saying that they were on holiday. And they were saying, oh, how long are you here for? And I would tell them, I'm here for a study abroad. And they would say, oh, yeah, we're just here for 4 weeks. Or we're here for 2 weeks, and then we're going to go 2 weeks in Melbourne. So I started to realize the rest of the world takes a holiday at least once a year. And by holiday, I mean 4 to 6 weeks, at least once a year. And so I met so many people who were on holiday. I met so many people who were in Australia for 4 to 6 weeks. And they would tell me about their previous travels. So they would say, oh, yeah, last year we went to Jamaica. Or the year before that, we went to the US. Or the year before that, we were in France. Or the year before, this is a regular thing. They travel for weeks every single year. This is not like a once in a lifetime type of situation. This is not, I need a break. I need a gap year. I need a career break. I need a sabbatical. This is how they do life. And I was in college at the time. So I was almost 20. I was 19 years old. And this kind of shaped how I viewed work. I was thinking to myself, we have it backwards in the US. Like, why? And the sun is coming out. So let me try to position myself so that I'm less in the sun. Yeah, this is just how they do life. And I was in college, and I was just thinking, this model, or the paradigm that we have in the United States, where you only go on vacation for 2 weeks, and most people don't even use the 2 weeks all at once. That we get 2 weeks vacation, and you got to spread that out throughout the year. It's frowned upon for you to take 2 weeks at once. So people are.
It's an interesting point she brings up. We most people in Australia, excuse me, when you work full time, you get 4 weeks holiday. On top of the 11 public holidays that you can get in Australia. So, and then most companies will say, you've got to use your annual leave. You've got to use it. You can accrue a little bit for the next year, but they'll say, use your 2 weeks or use your 4 weeks, whatever else, and if you plan it ahead enough, you can take 2 weeks off, no worries at all. 3 weeks off, no worries. Obviously, as long as you give them enough notice. But it's funny because I was just thinking back there when she was talking about all these 80s movies that we watched about Americans going to Europe for holidays, going camping for 2 weeks for holidays, going here for holidays, taking the family down to Florida. Or it's funny how, I don't know, that's changed in America. Like, do they not do that anymore? Do they not go on family holidays like that anymore? There's so many different movies like that, where I used to think, man, Americans get so many holidays. They're taking the family down here. They're going to Disneyland, whatever else, it's like, wow, they get a lot of holidays. I grew up poor, so I think I remember one holiday that I actually went on and we actually drove there. So it's, the chance was there to go, if you can afford it. Maybe that's what it comes down to. It's so difficult these days to go anywhere. And we all know America's got such a great country that why would you need to go anywhere else? You've got rainforest, you've got deserts, you've got mountains, snow, everything else. It's the same as Australia, but holiday in Australia is so bloody expensive. It's cheaper to go to Vanuatu. It's cheaper to go to New Zealand, for holidays instead of in Australia because it is so damn expensive. But yeah, that's funny how, and then obviously frowned upon to take 2 weeks at a time. That's weird. For an Australian looking into that situation, it's like, okay, 2 weeks is, nothing. Nothing here. That's just a regular, normal thing. Somebody will say, oh, I'm going on holiday, I've got time off, annual leave, whatever. Oh, how long you take? I'm taking 2 weeks. Okay, no worries. See you later. It's kind of weird, different cultures, I guess. I guess it's that work-life balance that we try to achieve here in Australia. It doesn't always work, but I think it's there in that structure that we can actually do that. So, all right, let's have a listen.
People are taking long weekends. People are taking a week at the most, maybe 10 days. If you can put it next to a holiday, maybe 10 days, and then that's it. And that is what is normal in the US. And so when I had this experience, this realization, because there was so many people, it wasn't one or two people, it was so many people that I met that had the same experience. It was eye-opening. It was like, this is how I want to live my life. I want to be able to take time off from work. I want to be able to take 4 to 6 weeks. I want to be able to take extended travel during the summer. When I was in Australia, that is when I decided that is how my life is going to look. I am going to make sure that I set myself on a career path that allows me to travel. And so that's the beauty of travel, is that you have these aha moments, you have these moments where you are changing your paradigm, you're changing how you think. And it's a beautiful thing when you question or when you challenge what's normal. And you're like, this what I thought was normal is not normal. That is overworking. That is working yourself to death. That is not living. What I want to do is live my life and be able to have these experiences that other people have on a regular basis.
I think the difference as well, we're just about to finish that.
The YouTube thinks that you would like this video.
Okay.
I think you might enjoy this one.
So I guess the other thing is how America is set up with the working, and, it comes down to what you need to pay for as well, how you're going to work to cover that, medical bills is obviously a big thing in America, medical insurance. We don't have that here. You can buy medical insurance in Australia, of course. You can go private, but our public system is free. You don't need to pay for it. If you need to pay for a doctor, most of the time you get 80% of it back anyway through Medicare. Our medical system here, going to the hospital doesn't cost you anything. So I guess it's different there, and I guess it's different when in Australia we're set up. Every company, if you work full time, even if you work part time, you're paid holiday leave as well. You're allowed to have it. The only ones that don't is casual people. They don't have a set schedule. They don't have that part time or full time contract. They can do whatever. But again, Australia, as I said, even when you're on holiday in Australia on a company, if you're away for 2 weeks, you actually get holiday loading. You actually get an extra little bit in your pay as well. I think it's 13%, I think. Somebody can correct me. I can't remember what it is. So even when you're on holiday, they actually pay you a little bit extra because you're on holiday, which is, I guess, is good, so it encourages people to go. So, but I guess it's different ways of doing stuff, different cultures around work, again, American movies, you see that flip side as well. People go on the holidays, but you also see people at work, working overtime, coming in early. You don't really see that in Australia. You come in, you do your work, you do your hours that you're allotted, et cetera, et cetera. You don't see people, I had to work late. I had to stay at the office. I had to do this. We don't really have that culture here. But I guess it comes down to how and what you're able to do through the company you work with. So, as I said, by law in Australia, you have to give a full-time worker 4 weeks off, 28 days holiday. If you can work that into Easter, you get a couple of days off. Christmas time, you get a couple of days off with the public holidays, etc. You can string it out a little bit. Works out about 6 weeks, hopefully, if you can work it properly. But very interesting that she made that, that, as she said, aha moment very early in her life, in her career. So hopefully it worked out that way for her and she was able to kind of, do that. So it's very interesting. You don't think about it, you just kind of get on with your work. You don't really, but when you see it from the, the other side of the fence, you go, oh, that's different. That's different. I kind of like that. But as I said, it comes down to what you can and able to do as well through your workplace. So very interesting. But I must say, I work at YouTube full time and I haven't had a holiday for 3 years. So it's not always holiday this and holiday that in Australia. But that was a very interesting video. Very interesting to see it from somebody who recognized it when she was, visiting another country and just thought, you know what? I kind of like that. I like that style of living. I'm going to do that. So, and I hope, fingers crossed, she was able to do that. So let me know if you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me today. Make sure you stay safe and I'll definitely see you in the next reaction video. Oh, you're still here? You want more content? Why don't you check out my Patreon down here? You'll get plenty more content and some exclusive videos over there too. If not, why not check out this one over here?